Hello again, YouTube. Welcome to another video series of renovations to my home here in South Carolina. This one's going to be our front deck steps. They are now missing because I had to rip them out because they were starting to deteriorate. Now, if you can imagine what they used to look like, we had wonderful rotting boards, slats going across, and we had 3 riser boards. Now, one of the problems of this, of course, is that the boards were sitting on the ground at the base, and we get a lot of water down here that puddles up at the base of the steps, and they were just sitting right inside of these holes and just deteriorated over time. Even though it's pressure treated wood, it still just gets eaten away. So that's another one of the things I'm going to be fixing when I'm upgrading this. I'm going to pretty much attach it the same way it was before. It was sitting up in here on this ledger board here, and it was sitting on top of that, and it was anchored to the 4x4 and to this fascia board here of the deck. So it was nailed to that and to this and sitting on top of these. But there was only 3 of them for this particular span, which wasn't really enough when you look at it. So I'm actually going to be installing 4. So I'll have the 2 on 2 sides and 2 down the center to balance the weight a little bit better. I'm also going to be digging out at the base here and putting in some blocks so that the bottom step riser will actually be sitting on block instead of directly on the ground, and that should eliminate a lot of the deterioration over time too. And for the slats, or for the actual treads themselves, I may not even go with this material. I may actually go with some of the new decking material, and I know it's a little more expensive, but I want to try and play with it to see what it's going to do and how it's going to work, how it cuts and all that kind of stuff, since I've never done it before. But this is all the old steps. I got them separated because they are all angled cuts on them, so I may be able to use them as a template. As you can see, the steps do not come straight off. It goes off at an angle and gets wider as it comes down to the bottom, so I need to have longer boards on going up. And so this is the new project for today. I'm going to show you how I'm getting started with that right now. Alright, step 1 in this project is, of course, deciding that you want to do it, which is always the worst possible decision you could make sometimes. The second thing is to buy the lumber for what you want to do for the job. I, of course, draw out everything that I want to do and kind of decide in my head that the 4 slats will be better than 1. And what I do is I've got one of the old treads here, and I bought some new pressure treated 2x4 or 2x12 by 8 foot long boards, so I can remake mine. And what I'm going to do, since I'm going to use the same basic lines, I'm just laying this on here, and I'm going to be drew pencil line along all the edges here, traced them out. And the only difference here is, instead of having this wing part come off of this one here, I'm actually just going to be cutting this along here and straight out to it, because this is going to be sitting directly on a brick, and it's also going to be anchored into, on the 2 sides, it's going to be anchored into the posts for the handrails. So it should give it plenty of support, and as well as with having 4 of these instead of the 3 for that span, it's going to strengthen it as well. So when I have more, I'll add it to it. Talk to you later. Hello again, YouTube. Welcome to another video on my stair renovation series, as it were. As you can see, I got rid of the 3, added 4 new runners, made them the same length as was originally here so that they end up at the same point. I had to do a little bit of fabricating underneath because of how they're mounted under here. Up underneath, they have these the joists running across, so I had to cut my boards so that they would sit on this ledger board but not interfere with the rest of the board. So a couple of these are cut. This one over here, and if you can see it, this one over here is cut because of how how it runs in short into the other boards there. But that's where we're at with this. Now I've used all exterior wood screws, 3.5 inches long, and I screwed them straight in through here. And remember how the cut is actually all the way up, so there is board, this runner board is all right behind here, and there's 3.5 inch screws on each one of these runners mounted here. I put an additional 2 3.5 inch screws into this post to hold this runner into place on both sides on the post, and then all of the runners are sitting on blocks, so they're above the ground, which is definitely going to be helpful. And of course, what you want to make sure is that you bring out your level and that all of your stairs are going to be level across. So the next step, now that these are all anchored in, is to cut all the boards. And I can use all the existing treads and try and just cut them the same length, but some of them were a little weird cut, so I'm going to make some nice smoother cuts with my chop saw, because some of these look like they were made with a hand saw to try and fit right. But that's the next step. Talk to you later. And here's the final project completed. Took me a few days because we're having inclement weather as usual and work, but got it all finished up, all screwed down, anchored down. All of the steps have 3 full boards on them except for the bottom one, and that's because I wanted to keep it within the rails and not to protrude past it. Also, I got it up as high as I could and still keeping the stair treads level, so that we have a good gap for water to flow under, so the shouldn't have a problem with it getting saturated by water again. Now all I gotta do is get a little bit of water sealant, wood sealant on these, and we will be good to go. Hope you enjoyed. Talk to you later.